The story of the magical fruit. A long time ago, there was a large kingdom ruled by King Newman. The king loved birds very much and had collected many different kinds from various countries, keeping them in his palace. The palace was beautiful, filled with the sweet sounds of the birds. Among all the birds, the king especially loved and cared for a parrot. This parrot always accompanied the king and was named Jameel by King Newman. The king relied heavily on Jameel's advice, consulting him on every matter. Thus, Jameel became the king's chief advisor, and King Newman wouldn't make any decisions without consulting him. Many people were unhappy with this situation, as they couldn't understand how a king could give so much importance to a small bird. However, since they feared questioning the king or voicing their objections, they all remained silent. One day, two of Jameel's relatives, also parrots, came to visit him. When they met, one of them said, "Brother, your parents are worried about you and want you to visit them as soon as possible. You must go and reassure them." Jameel went to the king and said, "Dear king, my parents live alone, and now they have sent two of my relatives to ask me to return home to see them and assure them of my well-being. Would you please grant me permission to leave?" The king loved Jameel so much that he felt he could not live even a single day without him. He depended heavily on Jameel's advice and found it difficult to imagine life without him. Fearing that Jameel might never return, the king expressed his concerns. Jameel replied, "My dear king, don't worry. You have shown me great love and kindness. How could I ever forget you? I promise to stay with my parents for 1 week and then return to you. Not only that, but I will also bring you a magical fruit when I come back. Whoever eats this fruit will remain forever young." The king felt relieved upon hearing this promise and was happy, especially because Jameel assured him he would return. He was not particularly interested in the fruit, but gladly granted Jameel permission to leave. Jameel set off on his journey with his relatives and finally reached his home after a long trip. His parents were overjoyed to see him safe, and the week passed quickly. When the time came for Jameel to return to the king, his parents were saddened by his departure, but allowed him to leave, understanding that he had to keep his promise. Before leaving, Jameel asked his parents, "I promised the king that I would bring him a magical fruit. May I take one with me?" His parents agreed and gave him the magical fruit he needed. Jameel then took the fruit and headed back to the kingdom. When the king saw Jameel, he was overjoyed that Jameel had kept his word. He was even happier when he received the magical fruit. The king proudly displayed the fruit to his court and everyone in the palace. One of the ministers suggested, "My king, why don't we plant this fruit in the palace garden? Over time, it will grow into a large tree, and the fruits it bears can be shared with everyone in the kingdom, ensuring that no one ever grows old." The king loved this idea and ordered the gardener to plant the magical fruit in the palace garden. Over a long period, the tree grew tall and bore many magical fruits. One day, a ripe fruit fell from the tree and landed on the ground. A snake that had been resting beneath the tree was struck by the fruit, and thinking it was under attack, bit the fruit and then slithered away. The fruit was now poisoned by the snake's venom. Shortly afterward, the gardener, unaware of what had happened, picked up the fruit and presented it to the king. The king decided to gift the first fruit to the kingdom's senior religious leader. The leader was delighted to receive the fruit, took it home, and shared it with his family. Tragically, they all perished from the snake's venom. The news spread rapidly across the kingdom. Those who disliked Jameel began spreading rumors, claiming that the king's favorite parrot was behind the tragedy. They concocted stories, suggesting it was a plot by the kingdom's enemies and that Jameel had been sent to poison the king. King Numan, consumed by anger, believed the rumors. His love for Jameel turned to hatred, and without hesitation he stabbed Jameel, ending the parrot's life without giving him a chance to speak or defend himself. Soon after, it became known that the fruit from the tree was poisonous. No one dared to approach it, and the king ordered a fence to be built around the tree to keep people away. One day, an elderly couple who had grown too old to care for themselves and had no one to assist them approached the tree. Wanting to end their suffering, they decided to eat the poisonous fruit and die together. The old man climbed over the fence, picked a fruit, took a bite, and gave the rest to his wife. Both lay down, expecting to die, but instead they fell into a deep sleep. When they awoke, they were shocked to find themselves young again. Overjoyed, they celebrated their newfound youth. News of the miraculous event quickly reached the king. The king, now thoughtful, summoned the gardener and asked, "How did you find the first fruit that the religious leader ate, and where did you get it from?" The gardener replied, "My king, I found the fruit lying on the ground beneath the tree and brought it to you." The king immediately went to the tree, examined the area, and found a snake's nest nearby. Realizing that the snake's bite had poisoned the fruit, he finally understood the truth. The king was filled with deep remorse and wept bitterly, mourning the loss of his dear friend Jameel, whom he had killed without allowing him to explain or defend himself. Moral of the story: we should never make decisions in haste or when angry. We must think carefully before taking action.